Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it.
Coaches and athletic directors, our sponsor Scoreboard Media has an incredible opportunity for your school. Right now, they're giving away 2 large LED video scoreboards, $152,000 value per school, to 32 select high schools across the country. Scoreboard Media pays for the boards, the software racks, and iPad controllers, as well as the delivery and installation. On top of that, they'll run the entire advertising program, generating a significant revenue sharing opportunity for the school. Since 2021, Scoreboard Media has been helping high schools upgrade their gyms and execute professional sponsorship programs. Not every school qualifies, and they're signing up new schools every week. So inventory is moving fast, and the install calendar is filling up for the summer. If you're interested, reach out to Scoreboard Media founder Charlie Megan at charlie@scoreboardmedia.com to set up a call and see if there's a fit. One of the dangers I think of for coaches that did play is that they are watching the game through players' eyes, meaning like kind of what you said. I remember doing that, or I think I could do that. When I was a younger coach, I used to think like, golly, if I was in that spot, I could do way better than what they just did right there. And so you almost start to, you judge your players based on what you thought you could have done in those spots. Coach, at what point did you start to maybe not look at everything through a player's eyes and just step back, listen to what they see? Like ask them like, hey, because players have to do what they see. Because like an example would be, to us, it looks open, but what if to that player, it doesn't look open and they're trying to do what they see? When did you make that shift?
When I realized these players were better players than when I played, you know? Yeah, I mean, I wasn't the greatest player, you know? So some of these players are playing at levels that I've never played at, a competition that I've never played at, coaching with players that I've never got the opportunity to get coached by. And yeah, it's very easy for me to see that that player's a lot better player than what I was. So his processing time is a lot faster than mine. His instincts are faster than mine. His speed, his athleticism, like put him in the right spots. I ain't gonna handcuff him from his instincts and his athletic abilities. Just guide him, and yeah, that was easy to me. But that's a funny story because I always tell my players, the day that we have a team that I can beat everyone one on one, I know we're not gonna have a good year. You know, if I can come out here and beat all of y'all one on one, we ain't gonna have a good year. You know,
That's
but
a good
if
point.
there's a couple of y'all that can beat me, we're gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right. You know, so
I'm at the
yeah.
point now where I tell my players, especially in skill work, hey guys, question for you. If I could guard you at the speed you're going, you know it's too slow. That's so the
Yeah.
now the it used probably 10 years ago, it was okay, I could still do something. And now it's, or 15 years ago, now it's, you need to be going faster than what me at 43 can guard you, or else that's just not enough.
Yeah, and sometimes you see it. You see it. I mean, you've been around and practice is low. I take my lanyard off my whistle. I throw it to the side. I raise my joggers up, and everybody gets excited. I mean, I don't get excited, but it does pick up. It does pick up the pace of practice, and now they're bumping me, and I'm waking up with sore ribs and bruises, and doing some movements that I haven't done in some long. But the kids like it. The kids like it. You know, they
How are
enjoy
you the
it.
next day though? Are you kidding?
Yeah,
How
no,
when you
for
get out
not
of
the
bed, how
next
you
week.
feeling?
Yeah, no, it's not the next day. It's the next week or so, you know, but they like it. Sometimes it's needed. I get in there, try my best to challenge them and guard them. And especially where we're working on our crab dribbles, where we got some strong guards and take the bump, you know, and try to strip them low so they can be strong with the ball. And they like that kind of stuff, you know.
With analytics, because we talked a lot about scouting reports and some in-game adjustments, how you use film. I would imagine that analytics or how you use them also influences those areas. So how does that affect your coaching style?
Yeah, but kind of sometimes in the middle, sometimes a bit extreme. I do like points per shot. Points per shot is big when I harp it all the time, and it's I don't want to say that we started or no one started, but I remember when we played in high school, my buddies and I were just say, hey, we're just gonna shoot threes and get layups. That's like before he like, hey, shoot threes, like we're gonna run and gun. And before any analytics, that's how we always played, pick a ball, everything like. And then as I started coaching, like, hey, let's just get open threes and let's just get layups. And then the analytics came around and the mid-range jumpers and this and that. And it's very obvious, we track our shot chart for the entire year, and we're like 69% in the twos, and we're in paint twos, and we're 39%, or not 39, but maybe like 34% three-pointer, and like 36% in the mid-range shooting. We just tell our guys, look, if you got 10 shots from each spot, how many points did you score in the paint? How many points did you score in the mid-range? How many points did you score in the three-point line? And they do the math, and they figure out that we get more points by scoring in the paint and the three-pointers. Have we had some good players that have had shot the mid range? Yes, we have. Do we bark at our kids for shooting the mid range? No, we don't. But it's one of those where when they make it, they look at you, and when they miss it, they don't want to look at you. And it's gotten to the point where the players themselves hold themselves accountable as to those mid range twos. They're there. We don't shoot them at a high percentage, and not because we don't work on them, and we can go back to saying it's an expensive shot. It's something you got to work on a lot, and you're gonna get less point for it. Like you're gonna work on it a lot, and you're also the value of it is it's also lower. So like it's expensive. It's an expensive thing for us to do. We only get so much time in practice, so that's expensive for us to throw it in and really become good mid-range shooters. If you want to invest on that outside of the of our practices, you can, but we're not gonna. That's something we're not gonna invest in.
That and I'm kind of similar to you. I'm definitely not D'Antoni. When he was with the Rockets, after the game was over, the guys who shot mid-range twos, their pictures of their faces were plastered on the wall when they came in. How many times they did it and how
Yeah.
like that's extreme.
Yeah.
You've used this term handcuff that I really like too. I want the game to be like a blank canvas, especially on offense, where they can utilize their skill work to create and make jazz right with each other.
Yeah.
The more that constraints you put on them of what they can and can't do, I think it does tighten them up, and it keeps them maybe from playing as free. But I think it's smart to acknowledge those analytics, celebrate when we get those higher percentage looks and what we want. But then if you have a player that does put in enough time, because that mid range can be very dangerous for a player offensively. Like you become basically there's no way to stop you. Because if they can
Yeah.
attack, but they back up, then they hit the three, but then they come guard, and then if they're trying to play soft, you can bury them there.
Yeah.
If you have a guy like that, like our all-time leading scorer at Faith, Dalton Standish, he was great in the mid-range. So I never once told him not to do that. But it comes at a price, like you said. He had to put in a lot of time to become
Yeah.
good at that. And so some of my favorite times are when we look at our shot on Huddle, our shot chart, and their shot chart, and we see that they have a ton of those mid-range and ours is almost empty. Man, we snap and celebrate that because
Yeah.
we're making great choices. But if I do have a guy that can do it, then I let him.
Yeah. We do the same thing, and then we say, hey, look, they're playing for us. They're playing for us because I mean, we have this thing called culture clips, right? And we send out every week a charge, a fast break, a dive on the floor. They're called culture clips, and we just send them out. And one of my what do we say, god brother? I'm his kid's godson, and he's my kid's godson. He's our middle school coach. He does it for us. He volunteered. He does it. He does a great job. And he sends it out, culture clips, 7, 8 clips, and he'll put a funny caption on it, and So one of the ones that we track is a mid-range shot that is a miss that leads to an over-the-top pass for a fast break. And that one will always be tagged Vela basketball. So if the other team shoots a mid-range and we get the rebound and we get an over-the-top rim run pass, we put it in our culture clip and we say, we're playing that. They're playing for us. Pretty much they're playing for us. They're giving
Like
us an
that.
assist here. And then, so conversely, we said, do we want to do that to them? Well, no, we don't. We don't. Right. Well, let's not put ourselves in that position. They're playing for us. Let's not give them that same opportunity, and just keep it simple, like look how many points we're getting off these mid-range. For example, when you see that shot chart with your canvas is empty of mid-ranges and theirs is full of mid-ranges. If you were to, because Huddle gives you the option of clicking those mid ranges, how many of those led to your transition points? And
Good.
if you were
Yeah.
to track that, you're getting a lot of fast break points off of those mid range shots and in line with analytics. Now, I wish we could get sophisticated like they do at the next level NCAA with their resources and stuff like that, going right, pick and roll. Are they going to shoot it? But our game is fast. There's not a lot of possessions where you break down or where you really have this opportunity to apply a lot of analytics because in high school basketball you're gonna see a full court press, you're gonna see a half court press, you're gonna see a zone, you're gonna see a triangle two, a box and one, where mainly in the college level they're just playing. I'm not gonna just say just man, but a form of man, and they know what to expect. Us, well, on Tuesday we're playing against a 2-3 zone, and then on Friday we're playing against a 1-2-2. So it's very hard to track possessions and transition points, and like for example, if you score on a press break, well, does that count as transition point? Does that count a primary break, secondary break? Like does that count as the first 7 seconds of the possession? Like, well, we broke a press. Like, so I always find myself confused, as to yes, I want to track the analytics, I want to track how fast we're playing, but if I'm faced with a full court press, what do I count as that? A press break? Or what if I break the press and then I fall back and I run my flow? Well, what do I count that as? Like, there's so many variables, I guess, in high school basketball. You come down against a triangle two and you score on that. Is that man offense? Is your man offense being efficient, or is it your zone offense? Like now you're like, oh, where do I group this? Where do I categorize this? And it becomes I get frustrated. Because
It sounds
I do
expensive.
want to. It becomes very expensive. I lose time. Like, well, what am I going to categorize this at? They pressed us. We got in our press break and we scored in 7 seconds. Is that fast break or is that press break? Yeah, I don't know.
See, I think I'm not very smart. And so that helps me because I have to keep everything really simple to where I wouldn't even think to categorize those because I just try to boil it down to like offensively, what is our goal when leather touches our fingertips? It's to get the best shot as fast as possible. And so from there, every possession, it can be different and we can kind of rate or evaluate them on a base by base, but almost to a point where it really doesn't matter what they're doing against a 2-3. Man, we can probably get a three even quicker,
Yeah.
than against man
Oh,
or against their pressure. But that's also, it helps too if we're really trying to run a lot of sets, well, then we're breaking pressure, then we're holding it, coming back out and trying to run that set. Just that becomes a little bit difficult. But when you simplify offense like that, like somebody said, offenses is made, it's supposed to be offensive. Like we're going to attack you. And when we're
yeah.
doing that, man, it doesn't really matter what they do. We can just try to rate how fast we are getting the best shot based on our shooting scale as fast as possible. But I don't know, maybe that simplicity can get me in trouble sometimes but it works for me, I guess.
Yeah, and it's complicated too because we want to play fast, but then end of quarter you're up 14, right? End of half, you are up 14, and you want to minimize your possessions to take a lead into half. Let's just say someone's strategy. Well, now do you vacate those possessions as playing fast? Do you count them because now you're using a strategy rather than your style of play? So okay, 2 minutes. Let's hold this down to 6 possessions. So we want three for us, three for them, just so we can for sure take a lead into half. We're up 14. You know, six or whatever, plus six, minus six, whatever you want to say. But now, by myself, I remember here telling them, don't push it. I tell it, okay, let's work it. Let's get into our false motion and get into 20 seconds. So now I'm intentionally taking away from playing fast. So should I, like, now we're just, so,
Guys,
but I like to, I like,
for 12 minutes we played fast, and then for
yeah,
6 we didn't. But, and there is something to that. Like, I do think there are some great coaches out there like you that you can play multiple styles throughout a game. You can have possessions that are different. And I guess I'm similar to that in a way of in the last 2 minutes of the game, if we're up 8 or less, then without a shot clock, we will come out and hold it. We'll get into our delay game, and you just got to come guard us or foul us, and we'll shoot free throws. But I have been pretty consistent with up until that point in 12 years on a live ball, made bucket or change of possession. I've never told them to hold it. And I used to even think like maybe at the end of quarters, if we get it with 30 seconds or less, all right, we're going to hold for one. And I just stopped doing that too. Just push it. Let's play fast. Let's not even think about that clock. It doesn't exist. Momentum, some people say like if the other team scores 3 possessions in a row, like that's a run going on. Or if you miss a lot of threes in a row, you should attack the paint more. We're just going to take each possession separate and push it. And again, I don't know if that's necessarily the smartest way, but I want guys to play fast and free and do our very, very best to not think differently about one possession because of what happened in the past. And so part of that is if I'm holding them or slowing them down because of the clock or something minus those last 2 minutes, then I think overall, I don't want them looking over at me or thinking. But coach, that's just like you said before, that's just a way to do it. It's not the
yeah,
only way. And I mean, golly, I think Danny Henderson and Marcus Smart and Phil Forte and Kenny Bourne, they won state championships playing a very different style than that.
yeah.
And
And
I think
then
it's kind of
you
what you're
said earlier,
comfortable with.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.